I mentioned the two guys, Michael and Dwayne, who were doing those really interesting projects. It was actually Dwayne was the one who turned me on to the whole thing about the fog machine. And that was what he found was apparently there was a trade magazine for stage equipment, lights, sound, all those kinds of things that so many churches are now requiring. And he got a hold of one of those and was just thumbing through it, and suddenly came upon a top 10 list of most desired pieces of equipment for churches, and number one on the list was a fog machine. Now, on one hand, I get that. I mean, you need the fog machine because it's the fog that picks up the lights, the lasers and the light. And you need the lights because you've got a stage. And you have a stage because we're putting on something that is a first-rate performance. We've got state-of-the-art sound, we've got lights, we've got lasers, we've got, the whole thing going. And we're doing all this to the glory of God. Has it come to this that we really need a fog machine to fully worship God? I mean, I have a friend of mine who says, I think sometimes we're just chasing relevance. And if we are, will we ever catch it? In other words, where is all this leading us to? And obviously you've had this question presented to you before, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
Give us some kind of perspective, because I feel like I'm the guy who started this. Back. Really,
Yeah.
We were putting our faith to music, and it was so cool, and it felt so good. We've never done this before. Never in our wildest dreams thinking that the church would become a place where rock bands are doing their thing at the highest level.
Yeah. It's a different thing than what you guys were doing in the late 60s and early 70s, because it's like what you guys were doing on steroids, because it doesn't quit. And I think the whole chasing relevance concept is absolutely spot on. We never get there because the culture is always changing and always shifting, and what was relevant 3 months ago is no longer relevant now, and it puts such an onus on worship ministries to try to stay only 3 steps behind. You can't stay ahead, but if you're only 3 steps behind all the coolest and latest and trendiest and hippest stuff, then you'll be okay. And I think, John, these are well-intended efforts. I'm not trying to say that anybody is not well-intended, but I wrote a piece for Worship Leader about 10 years ago where I said that in fact, I use relevancy, the pursuit of cultural relevancy. I think the article was called Church Choirs and the Pursuit of Cultural Relevancy. And the whole point was, in that article, was that choirs are valuable because they are so culturally irrelevant. And my main point in that, and I think it's still true, all these efforts are usually couched in terms of we have to draw unbelievers, and this is what unbelievers want and know and like, and so we're not even going to worry about what our old folks think who are Christians and who have been in the faith for so long. They're already in the flock. We're reaching out, and we have to do this pyrotechnical display because that's what our culture wants. And John, I am of the opinion that is an absolutely fatuous argument. I think, and I might be wrong, but I think if I were an unbeliever looking at everything in my culture, and if I stumbled into a church with that age-old symbol of Christianity, a cross, smack dab in the middle, just like the book that you wrote on the cross, where the cross is in the middle of the church. I so love that. That's another story for another time. But if I was an unbeliever and walked into that, John, I would want something that was churchy to be there, because I have seen what my culture has to offer, and if I'm any sense culturally aware and I'm an unbeliever, I recognize that my culture has nothing to offer me of any value, of any substance. So I am longing for something not to cater to my culture, but to transcend my culture. I want something churchy to be there. I want to crack open a hymnal, even though I wouldn't know what a hymnal is. I want there to be something, because my culture is so bereft of any spiritual significance. So I think in our well-intended efforts to evangelize, I think we have it backwards. And I don't know when it's going to end, because technology will continue to go, and there will be churches who will spend, oh my gosh, gobs and gobs of money on stuff hoping to attract unbelievers, and I think they're putting the cart before the horse.